Nothing like tuning in to a 60 minutes investigative expose only to find out that it had been pulled hours before airing because it needed additional reporting. CBS straight up delayed a segment on El Salvador's Secot mega prison where Venezuelan migrants were deported by the Trump administration, and they endured brutal and torturous conditions. And real quick, I'm Lauren Paritra. Please make sure you take a moment to subscribe. If you're on mobile, hit hype. If you're not, make sure you have your notifications turned on, hit that bell, because it was reported by longtime correspondent Sharon Alfonsi that the piece included firsthand accounts from detainees who survived confinement in one of Latin America's harshest prisons. And Legal and Factual Review had already cleared the story. Yet CBS replaced it with a segment on a family of classical musicians. Internally, journalists warned the decision was full-on political, not editorial at all. And public outcry followed, exposing a perception that some media seems to prioritize political comfort over human suffering, real human suffering. Let's take a look at the promo.
It began as soon as the planes landed. The deportees thought they were headed from the U.S. back to Venezuela, but instead they were shackled, paraded in front of cameras, and delivered to Secot, the notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador, where they told 60 Minutes they endured 4 months of hell.
Did you think you were going to die there?
We thought we were already the living dead, honestly.
Meanwhile, while all this is going down, real tragedy is continuing to unfold in U.S. detention centers. Nenko, 56 years old, a Bulgarian immigrant and Chicago business owner, lived in the U.S. for 30 years. He entered legally on a student visa. He held a work permit and paid taxes and ran a trucking company since 2008. He married to a U.S. citizen in 2017, and he was in the process of applying for a green card through that marriage. On September 23rd of this year, Nenko was arrested by ICE while showing up for his green card interview. And he was arrested at the USCIS Chicago office. He was not committing any crimes. He wasn't even dangerous by any stretch of the imagination. He was showing up for his legal appointment, and they arrested him. And agents appeared seemingly waiting for him to arrive. And from that moment, Nenko was treated as a criminal rather than a husband, a businessman, business owner, or a law-abiding immigrant. A federal judge in Chicago ordered his release on bond along with hundreds of others after the ruling that the arrest may have violated the consent decree. ICE classified Nenko as a low risk to public safety, yet he remained in custody while the government appealed the release order. He was held at the North Lake Correctional Facility in Baldwin, Michigan, a private, for-profit prison run by GEO Group under contract with ICE. And it was capable of housing up to 1,800 detainees. And he was a diabetic, repeatedly denied medical care and an appropriate diet. Family members sent money to buy commissary meals that wouldn't spike his blood sugar, but it wasn't enough. His health steadily declined, and on December 16th, the day of their 8th wedding anniversary, his wife did not receive his nightly call. Checking the ICE detainee locator, it said he had been released. But the next morning, the Bulgarian embassy notified her that Nenko had died in custody.
Surrounding the death of 56-year-old Nenko Gantchev, originally from Bulgaria, remain murky. His family telling the I-Team that federal officials have not answered their questions about what happened to him, and for days they couldn't even locate his body. Now they have serious concerns about the medical care he received prior to his death, and for hundreds more detained at this ICE facility. This letter from Immigration and Customs Enforcement to Nenko Ganchev's wife is the only communication she's received from federal officials since Gantchev died Monday at the North Lake Correctional Facility, a private prison in Baldwin, Michigan. That facility is contracted by ICE to hold undocumented migrants.
They believed he collapsed and that it may have been a heart attack, and that was it.
Anna is a family spokesperson who asked the I-Team not to use her last name or Ganchev's wife's name out of fears for their safety. Although Ganchev's wife is a U.S. citizen, she too is fearful of reprisal. The day she was notified of her husband's death was the couple's 8-year wedding anniversary.
It's enough to know that your husband died in custody. It's enough to know that it was an awful place to die. She's so beyond upset.
Geo Group, the private prison company that owns and operates the North Lake Correctional Facility, referred all questions surrounding Ganchev's death to ICE officials. After multiple inquiries from the ABC 7 I-team, ICE published this statement online saying Ganchev's death is, quote, suspected to be from natural causes, but, quote, the official cause of death is still under investigation. Going on to say, according to initial reports, Gantchev was discovered unresponsive on the floor of his cell during routine checks. Facility medical staff responded, began CPR, and contacted local emergency medical services. A Michigan medical examiner's office said no cause or manner of death has been certified yet.
A wonderful human being. If you needed something, he would be there for you no matter what.
Ganchev's wife and close friends tell the I-team he first moved to Chicago 30 years ago on a student visa and owned a trucking company for more than a decade. Gantchev was taken into custody by federal immigration agents in September at a scheduled green card interview.
It's the last time she ever saw him alive.
His wife and friends say Gantchev suffered from type 2 diabetes and told his wife no accommodations were made for his condition in custody.
The stress alone can create those blood sugar spikes, and he was not feeling well progressively.
Gantchev was also one of hundreds of people a federal judge in Chicago ordered released on bond last month, as his warrantless arrest may have violated an existing consent decree. But that order was blocked by an appeals court, keeping Gantchev locked up.
It's beyond confusing to get any information.
Now, in a statement, ICE labeled Gantchev a criminal, but court records reviewed by the I-team show previous arrests by Chicago police. Despite those arrests, Gantchev was never charged with any serious crimes, only traffic violations. U.S. Representative Delia Ramirez of Chicago has called for a, quote, immediate and independent investigation into Mr. Gantchev's death, saying there have been numerous complaints of inhumane conditions and inadequate medical care at North Lake. The Department of Homeland Security has called all allegations of poor treatment false.
ICE reported that he was found unresponsive on the floor and a physician pronounced him deceased. But no meaningful explanation or medical records were shared. His family had no opportunity to identify him, request religious rites, or review an autopsy. 2025 has already become the deadliest year on record for ICE detainees, with nearly 30 deaths, at least 30 deaths. And advocates say Nenko's death was preventable and part of a systemic pattern of neglect, overcrowding, and inhumane treatment. He was never a serious criminal, maybe a minor traffic infraction. He ran a business, he paid taxes, and was working towards permanent residency. Both Nenko and the delayed Secot investigation reveal what happens when political convenience trumps humanity. One system kills quietly through neglect, others hide verified suffering to avoid any sort of negative attention. Families grieve, journalists are silenced, and the public remains uninformed. Nenko's life and death are a stark warning. Without reform and without any accountability, human dignity will continue to be ignored, and ordinary people who did nothing wrong will continue to pay the ultimate price with their lives. If you want to see more stories like this that hold powerful systems accountable and tell the stories that really matter, make sure you subscribe. Again, hype this video, hit that notification bell, and stay informed, because silence only protects the people in power.